لا حول ولا
حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر
الله أكبر.
لا إله إلا الله
لا إله إلا الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله أحمده واستعينه واستهديه واستغفره وأؤمن به جل وعلا ولا أكفره وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون. All praise belongs to Allah. We praise Him. We seek His help, His assistance, and His guidance. We believe in Him and do not disbelieve in Him. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His servant and messenger. Allah sent him, that is Muhammad, with Deen al-Haq, the religion, the way, the methodology of truth. And this way of life, known as Islam, will rise to its proper position in this world, whether the mushriks like it or not. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وأوثق الأمور كلمة التقوى وخير الملال ملة إبراهيم وخير السنن سنة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وأشرف الحديث ذكر الله وأحسن القصص هذا القرآن وخير الأمور أوزموها وشر الأمور محدثاتها وأحسن الهدي هدي الأنبياء وأشرف الموت قتل الشهداء وأما الأمر دلالة بعد الهدى وخير الأعمال ما نفع وخير الهادي ما أتباع وشير الأمة أما الكرم. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said the most truthful of discourses is Kitabullah, or the Book of Allah. The most trustworthy word is taqwa, or fear of Allah. The best of the community is the community of Prophet Ibrahim. The best way of life is the sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The remembrance of Allah is the most glorious of all things. The best of all narrations is Quran. The best acts are those requiring the highest degree of will and determination. The worst acts are those based on innovation. The best way of life is the one adopted by the prophets of Allah. The most glorious death is the death of the martyr. The most wretched blindness consists of going astray after finding the right way. The best acts are the ones that yield benefits. The best guidance is that which people may be able to follow. The worst blindness is the blindness of the heart. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna Allah yahmuru bil adli wal ihsani wa ita'i dil qurba wa yanha anil fashai wal munkari wal baghi ya'itukum la'alakum tadhakkarun. Allah commands justice and doing of good and liberality to kith and kin, and He forbids all shameful deeds and injustice and rebellion. He instructs you that you may receive admonition. فَمَنْ يَرِيدِ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. Those whom Allah in His plan willeth to guide, He opens their breast to Islam. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتون إلا وأنتم مسلمون. O you who believe, fear Allah as He should be feared, and do not die except in a state of Islam. وَتَسْمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. And hold fast altogether by the rope which Allah stretches out to you, and be not divided amongst yourselves. Kuntum khayra umatin ukrijat lil nasi tamaruna bil ma'rufi wa tanhauna 'anil munkar wa tu'minuna billah. You are the best peoples evolved for mankind, enjoining what is right and forbidding what is wrong and believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Aqulu qawli hadha wa astaghfirullah li wa lakum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala khairul mursaleen. Muhammadin al-Nabi al-Ummi. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ijma'in. Amma ba'd. Yaqulu Allahu ta'ala fil Quran al-Kareem. Inna Allaha wa malaikatuhu yusalluna ala nabi. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu tasliman. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Maulana Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We see a lot of jumping up and down and marching and carrying on for human rights, equal rights, I can breathe, or I want to breathe, and all of that stuff, which is very good. And when we look at the United States, we see people that are acting very strange. The other day, Nancy Pelosi and some of the other people in Congress came out with kente cloth on, and they was taking a knee. It's just unbelievable what people will do. I mean, how they will act so out of character. And because people act according to the trends and the fashion and the time. 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, they wasn't thinking about none of that. They was rolling with their votes and jumping up and down, and they wasn't really concerned about Black Lives Matter. They wasn't concerned at all about Black Lives Matter. But now everybody's concerned. All the football players and basketball players are now taking a knee. They want to get Kaepernick back in, in the league somewhere. And they said they want to get him back. And they got all the sports people. A few years ago, the sports people was quiet as they could be. They said, man, I'm making $20, $30 million. I ain't in all of that. That's what they acted like. Now, you can't stop them. They got to take a knee. If you go back in history, though, it was over 20 years ago that Mahmoud Abdul Rauf was the only brother standing up. He got his house burned down there in Mississippi. He lost all of his property. He didn't play in the league anymore, and he was good at what he was doing. And every now and then they mention his name, but they don't mention his name according to the gravity of what he did and when he did it, and what it meant when he did it, right? And there's a difference in when he did it, and there's a difference when Kaepernick did it, although it was similar. But doing it now, hey, everybody doing it. And it's popular to do. So that's why the lady will come out with a kente cloth. I was just laughing so hard. See, watching the news, you got to have a strong constitution to watch the news without falling out of your chair, because they are subject to do anything. But anyway, I want to read a little bit from significant documents in African American history. This is, I'll read what it was. The final version of the Declaration of Independence, as accepted by Congress, did not contain the following paragraph written by Thomas Jefferson as part of an initial draft of the document. In other words, this is left out of, this is a paragraph, it's only a paragraph I'll read, that was left out of the Declaration of Independence. So old Tom goes on to say about the king, he has waged cruel war against human nature itself, violating its most sacred rights of life and liberty in the persons of a distant people who never offended him, captivating and carrying them into slavery in another hemisphere, or to incur miserable death in their transportation thither. This pirate, pirate warfare and opprobrium of infidel powers in the warfare of the Christian king of Great Britain, determined to keep open a market where men should be bought and sold, he has prostituted his negative for supporting every legislative attempt to prohibit or to restrain this execrable commerce, that is, the slave trade. And that this assemblage of horrors might want no fact of distinguish die. He is now exercising these very people to raise in arms against us and to purchase that liberty of which he deprived them by murdering the people upon whom he also obstructed them. Thus paying off former crimes committed against the liberty of one people with crimes which he urges them to commit against the lives of another. Now, this is a serious statement. Let's go over this a little bit. This is about the King of England. This is the part of the Declaration of Independence. As it says, Declaration of Independence, then it has what was left out of the Declaration of Independence. This is the same, you can hear the language is the same that Thomas Jefferson used in the Declaration of Independence. He has waged cruel war against human nature itself. In other words, the slave trade is against human nature itself. It is in its most sacred rights of life and liberty in the person of a distant people who never offended him. In other words, these people never did nothing to the King of England, right? But he, the King of England, is motivated by commerce to participate, and his ships and his captains to participate in the slave trade, captivating and carrying them into slavery in another hemisphere, or to incur miserable death in their transportation. We talk about the Middle Passage, right? You would think white folks didn't know about that. Thomas Jefferson, he said, in their transportation, that means millions of people jumped overboard just not to go in slavery, right? And he knew it, and so did all the rest of them. So this pirate warfare of infidel powers is the warfare of a Christian king of Great Britain. In other words, you're a Christian. You're doing all this under Christianity. Determined to keep open a market where men should be bought and sold. And he has prostituted his negative for suppressing every legislative attempt to prohibit or to restrain this execrable commerce. In other words, there are a few of the colonial, the northerners mostly, that want to prohibit the slave trade. But the King of England telling them, because they're colonies, you can't do that. Although many of them own these big docks and everything, so they made big money off slaves, whether it was the North or the South. Okay, assemblies of horrors, da 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 da. Now this is important. He is now exercising these very people to rise in arms against us. Talking about the black people. Remember the law at that time. If you fight with the British for 1 year, right, you get your freedom. Y'all ever heard of the Book of Negroes? The Book of Negroes. Nobody heard. The Book of Negroes is a book that the British kept of all the black people who fought on their side. Now, of course, old boss man won in the colonial struggle, so those Negroes that fought with the British had to head to Canada. The British transported them to Canada, and I heard that some were transported to the islands, but they were free because they fought with the British, right? And now Thomas Jefferson is saying the same people that enslaved me and you, our great-grandparents, right? Now, Great Britain is telling them to rise up to fight against boss man, who's also enslaved us. And if you fight for the British, then you get your freedom. It's really a book. If anybody got your thing right now, just type it in. Book of Negroes. Book of Negroes. Think I'm lying. I know that stuff I say, it sound like, yeah, deep, man, I'll be stretching out up there. This is called the Book of Negroes. It is unbelievable. So, I just pass on. This is like, it said the omission of this passage reflected the awareness on the part of some congressmen that a number of New England merchants were profitably engaged in the slave trade. Other legislators were simply in favor of slavery as an institution and felt that the inclusion of such sentiments would prejudice the case for its continuation. So at day one, 1776, they already had a good picture of what was happening in their colonies. And they made specific decisions all along the way, up till today, right? To exclude the Negro, to segregate the Negro, to isolate the Negro, to deprive the Negro, right? To obstruct any road that he wants to travel that leads to freedom, justice, equality, and liberty, and peace, and tranquility, right? We'll just read a few of the documents, but they knew what they was doing then, they know what they're doing now. Just since we in the Declaration of Independence, I'm going to pass by some of it. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new governments, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect the safety and happiness. Okay, I'm going to just go over this a minute. We hold these truths to be self-evident. It's self-evident. It's clear that all human beings are created equal. That's what they're saying, including us. Why they leave the part I just read up there out? Because they know that's true. So they left it out. It's a business. idea. Why? The New England ship owners are making so much money bringing slave ships over, and they're part of the legislature. They don't want to bother them and upset them because it upsets commerce. Then many of the people, old Tom himself right down there in Virginia, you know, Tom, George, all them boys talking about freedom. George Washington had 300 slaves. Of course, he put it in his will that when his wife dies, they would be freed. I don't know if they did it or not. And old Tom, you know, Sarah Hennings and all the children, you could see today Thomas Jefferson children. They Negroes, of course, the whole crew, red looking with freckles. They dirty red, most of them. That's the color that we have. And they got freckles. His children, Sarah Hennings' children, right? Y'all seen them on TV anytime? And that's way back, man. That's 100 generations, 6, 7 generations, a little more, right? He's a slave owner. So how he writing about freedom, justice, equality, and then they go so far as to say that governments are instituted on the premise of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and the governments gain their power from the consent of the government. Me and you, we're the government, they're the government. They get their power from me and you, right? And at any time that the government is not structured to produce life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, it is the duty of the governed, me and you, to abolish that government and institute, that's what the Declaration of Independence is saying, right? So technically, under this document, it's our duty. It's our responsibility, right, to abolish the government that we have and institute a new government based on life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and not cutting off or blocking the avenues or the roadways or access to freedom, justice, and equality, or life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay, we just went into this document so that you will see. This is 1776. Let's look at 1787. Now, Constitution. Now, you got to remember, the Constitution is different from the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration they fought the Revolutionary War on a group of, it's called the Articles of Confederation. That means the 13 colonies had articles, a little petty constitution that they fought the war on. In 1887, or way close to that period, they decided to make a real constitution to govern themselves. So they threw out the Articles of Confederation, and they wanted to really some wanted to make a little bitty light thing, and some wanted to get down. Now, you got to remember, the difference between the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. You know these delegates are mostly wealthy people. One of the guys was governor down in Virginia. In fact, the Virginia plan is mostly the Constitution of the great state down there of Virginia. Virginia in those days was the biggest state because it was part of West Virginia. All of it was part of Virginia until after the Civil War when they broke it up. So they really instituted basically the Virginia plan, the Constitution of the state of Virginia. The Bill of Rights and all of that stuff came after a certain period. Why? You got the Constitution and you got the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence is white folks want to get their independence from another group of white folks. And you got to remember the colonists over here, they running their own business. It's 3,000 miles away. And the guy's telling them, it's like if you dealing big dope and you got somebody dealing for you in Ohio or California. Pretty soon he get kind of big himself, and he say, I get my own connections. And then after a while, he's big as you are, just about, right? And you can't threaten him because he didn't develop a whole organization over there, the California organization, right? And he controlled the whole West Coast. And you here in D.C., got a few people in Maryland, maybe Philadelphia, you're doing a little dealing, and you big, but he out there, that whole big joint is his. And you tell him, man, you got to straighten up. He says, who you talking to, homeboy? Right? This is the way people do. That's the way the colonists are. The colonists are telling Great Britain, hey, man, and you ought to hear what they say. We don't like this, we don't like that, and we done begged you and asked you and pleaded for you to leave us alone, and now we're going to separate from you. That's what the Declaration of Independence is about. They fought, and they got their independence. The people who fought, the leaders were old George down there in Virginia, big shot, right? All the people, Patrick Henry, give me liberty or give me death. He down there in Virginia too. All them boys is rolling big. Benjamin Franklin is the first millionaire in America. In those days. Now they fight, me and you, the poor white folks and all that. They Minutemen, everybody got guns in America, so they win their independence. Then after they got their independence, they put the Constitution together. The Constitution is different from Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence, we need all y'all life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and we got to stretch on out, and we love everybody. That's Declaration. The Constitution is not they done won their independence, and them fat cats, now we got to control y'all. Right? That's basically what it is. That's why y'all ever heard of the Bill of Rights, first 10 amendments? The white folks, other states did not accept this Constitution. So we ain't going for that. Unless you incorporate, and they wrote up what they wanted. Freedom of speech, press, and religion. The right to bear arms. Why you got the right to bear arms? Why you think that the government is killing all these children and everything all around the country to make people hate guns? Why you think they're doing that? Because they want their guns, they want the people here not to have no guns. Why? Because those jackbooted militant police can kill all of y'all defensively. And you're defenseless, right? That's why they put the Second Amendment in the Constitution. You think it's there to protect yourself from your neighbor? No, from a bad government. And they did it with Britain, and they put in that we gonna have a right to bear arms. So after freedom of speech, press, and religion, Peter Zing and them, 1735, they come up with number 2, the right to bear arms. And the right not for you to mess with us, not the right for you not to. You look at the first 10 bills, it's a right for you to be left alone. Tell the truth. No illegal searches and seizures. You can't take my property without giving me a bill of particulars, and you got to be able to prove a case against me. No double jeopardy, no all of that, right? That's people. You know the first rebellion in America? Y'all ever heard of Shays' Rebellion? That's white folks. And I know y'all done heard of the Whiskey Rebellion, 1792. White folks have a song, I ain't paid no taxes since 1792. That's when they told the government all the white folks make whiskey for extra money in them days. Whiskey was just normal. If you have any extra, corn or what have you, you want to have a few extra dollars for the winter, right? So you made whiskey. Boss man told the white folks, we're going to charge y'all. We're going to charge you a whiskey tax. They rebel. It's called a Whiskey Rebellion. Think I'm lying? Look at you. Type it up. Whiskey Rebellion. Would somebody do that just so that everybody know that I'm just type up Whiskey Rebellion, type up Book of Negroes, and then just give me a little nod. Look at everybody else, the nigga ain't lying. Whiskey Rebellion. Okay, 1792. So this is the dear preamble to the Constitution. I want you to see how much it applies. We the people of the United States. That means us. It didn't at first. It just meant we was 3/5. Y'all remember the 3/5 compromise? 5 cows, 5 cows, 5 horses, 5 horses. 5 Negroes equal 3. If you got 5 Negroes, they equal 3. Right? Anybody see Whiskey Rebellion yet? All right, Whiskey Rebellion. What about Book of Negroes? We want Book of Negroes. All right. So I ain't lying, right? Okay, that's what the camera heard. I'm not lying. I'm not making this up. In fact, I'm not making none of this up because I'm reading from the white folks' document right here. Okay, anyway, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility. This is a preamble to the Constitution. Let's see if they've lived up to that. You could go into the court and read this and tell the court, you don't have no right to tell me nothing. Why? Because the Constitution, the preamble says, for more establish justice. How many of y'all have had justice in the United States? Justice, anybody? Okay. Domestic tranquility, kicking in your door, beating you upside the head, even lynching and burning Negroes. Is that domestic tranquility, that they drag you out of your house and string you up on a tree, strange fruit? And if you talk about it and sing about it, like the lady used to wear a flower in her hair, what's her name? Billie Holiday, she made a record, Strange Fruit, and the white folks, the old man run the jailhouse, put her in the penitentiary for talking. Who are you talking about? Strange Fruit. That's all your freedom now. Okay. Ensure domestic tranquility. Provide for the common defense. That means the police is there to defend you, not to attack you, right? And the army is to defend you and to help you and to aid you and provide for the common defense. That's what it says. Promote the general welfare. Everybody then got good welfare treatment, you know, just general good human treatment. Raise your hand. And secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. That's your children. Those people supposed from a long time ago supposed to have been passing on to me and you the blessings of liberty, right? To the posterity. Y'all just raise your hand if you got any. Do ordain and establish the Constitution of the United States of America. I'm not going to get into all the Bill of Rights and stuff. They haven't even attempted to help you out, right? And it's sitting there in plain sight for everybody to see to read. Now, y'all saw that movie about Abraham Lincoln, how nice guy he was. He tried to make sure we got the 13th Amendment, right? Y'all remember that movie, Abraham Lincoln, about Lincoln 5 years ago? I don't know, something like that. But he was a good guy. And he, at the end of the Civil War, he's going to rack his brain and hustle till he makes sure he get us a 13th Amendment so we free. So it says, the amendment of the United States Constitution provides that neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, no slavery, no involuntary servitude, what's this? Except as a punishment for a crime. Oh, but just a minute now. A felony? Except for a crime. Y'all remember chain gangs? You done seen the movies, the old movies. And Negroes by the hundreds of thousands on chain gangs. and the rest in prisons, making license plate and working down in the factory or industry. They call it industry in the federal penitentiary. The other place they call it the factory. So you got your freedom, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, oh my goodness, except as a punishment for a crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted. Because now he's convicted in a lawful court, and that's a good court. It's a court, you walk in, they see you, they don't just sentence you to penitentiary because you're black. So go on to the penitentiary. They got a public defender there. We call them public pretenders. You know, I had a case in California. The public defender, before you go to court, if you haven't got a lawyer yet, he's talking to me. You can plead guilty, you can do this. I said, plead guilty for being in my own property? What are you talking about? What's wrong with you? And I'm hollering at him through the glass, you must be crazy. But everybody else, or eventually, how many plea bargains? Is it 90-something% of people at the penitentiary there with plea bargains? Yeah, of course it would be. Part of the black movement. The reason they assassinated George Jackson and those guys, because in the California prison system, the word had come down, nobody accept a plea bargain. Everybody take their case to trial. What's going to happen to the court? Just like getting constipated, they can't move. They can't move. Everybody going to fight their case in the prison system. Except for punishment of a crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States. So we still have slavery because it says no involuntary servitude or slavery except me and you. What is the statistics for D.C.? 50% of the people in D.C. is what? On paper or in prison? Isn't that right? That's what they say. 50%, all the baby boy, Johnny boy, all of them is on paper or in the penitentiary. And right away they say, oh, you can get away, you don't have to just get to sign this, get on probation. Finish, right? Because as soon as you come back through, they get the kids starting early. I was watching my grandson, how they was doing him. And everything I tell him not to do, he changed his mind and do it like they tell him. I said, you better, the only way he could get free is go back to California because they had him on paper here almost in 2 weeks. Almost in 2 weeks. Anyway, so now let's get ready to close out and see what old boss man, what the Quran says about him. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, we sent them with clear signs and scriptures. And we have sent down unto thee also the message that thou mayest explain clearly to men what is sent to them, and that they may give thought. Know then, those who divulge evil plots feel secure that Allah will not cause the earth to swallow them up, or that the wrath will not seize them from directions they little perceive, or that they may not call them to account in the midst of their goings to and fro without a chance for them frustrating Allah. So Allah sent clear signs, and all the signs that's coming, we all see them. Everybody sees these modern signs. They're not hidden to anybody. Whether we shall show thee within thy lifetime part of what we promised them, or take to ourselves thy soul before it is accomplished. Thy duty is to make the message reach them. Our part is to call them to account. So this is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We showed you what's happening. Whether we bring this all to a conclusion in your lifetime, right, or we postpone it to another, don't get panicky. Don't feel like you're not doing your job. All you do is you teach openly and clearly. That right? That's what Allah is telling the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. See thou not that we gradually reduce the land in their control from its outlying borders, where Allah's commands, there is none to put back his command, and he is swift in calling to account. Gradually reduce the power, the prestige. Can you imagine what America looks like in the world news? They laughing harder than we are. That's big bad America over there. Right? They telling us about freedom, and they got a man on the ground and got him on the ground for minutes after minutes to choke him to death. Right? And they got soldiers over here walking through our houses, sticking gun in my mama's face, right? And blowing up my whole country, whether it's Iraq, whether it's Afghanistan, right? And so the people, look what all of this looks like now. America the Great. Freedom. The lady up in Minnesota, the Muslim lady, she said, the story y'all sold us does not exist. You know, they wanted to come, the immigrants, you know. She said, basically, CNN, that ain't true. Y'all lied to us, boy. It ain't nothing happening over here. Those before them did also devise plots. But in all things, the master planning is Allah. He knoweth the doings of every soul, and soon will the unbelievers know what gets home in the end. I don't care whether it's Egypt. I don't care whether it was Great Britain. I don't care whether it's the Roman Empire, Pax Romania, Pax Britannica, Pax Americana. We talked about this decades ago. What does it mean? Allah give everybody a chance to rule. Give everybody a chance to express themselves, right? So the British had a turn, and the Romans had a turn. Before that, the Greeks had a turn. Persians had a turn. You look around the world. Talking about Africa, that was periods when Africa held sway in the world. Right? Everybody get their chance. Boss man, his chance is over. All the other people, the Egyptians, they had schemes. We ain't going down without a fight. That's what they say. When Allah pull the cord, you going down. You can have all the plots, plans, and schemes you want. It ain't gonna work, brother. Hence, leave me alone with such as give the lie to this tidings. We shall bring them low, step by step, without their perceiving how it has come about. For behold, though I may give them rain for a while, my subtle scheme is exceedingly firm. This thing is going to happen. The boss man. All these, y'all got the shirt. Right, boss man bites the dust. All these ayats are on there. Boss man bites the dust. It's not a great prediction. It's easy because the Quran has said, and then we can look around. It's all over for boss man. Why? He's finished. The Quran and said it, this reading of the Quran, this year was fine. We still only got halfway, but we read the Quran and commentary that goes with it and all that. We even read Yusuf Ali. And when we think about it, your job is to teach openly and clearly and don't worry about reward. You know, Yusuf Ali died in Europe. He died in a park in London. And somebody called the Pakistani embassy and said, we think one of your people have died. The Pakistani embassy had to bury him because he was poor. Everywhere you go in the world, what do you see? In the English speaking, you see Yusuf Ali's translation. He didn't get a dime for it, right? But look what he did. And when you read his commentary, if you haven't read it in a while, you will get shocked. You say, man, Yusuf Ali was deep. Of course, he used a little Shakespeare every now and then, stuff like that. And then the Saudis get mad. They said, they took out the section on eschatology, the hereafter, because it's too Sufistic. There's a whole section in there. They took it out. Some mean brothers, I'm telling you. The man spent his life writing that and translating that great commentary, and they take it out. There's one more ayat we want to hook up. But anyway, one says, don't you see that we bring you to this situation by a process of slow wastage? Slow wastage. You're wasting away. When you get hooked on some drug, sometime you just waste away, right? You don't die the first day, the second day, but you waste away. You lose your family. You lose your job. You lose your house. And then you start losing your physical health. You just waste away. That's the way Boss Man is doing. His power is wasting away. His motivation to be better, to be big, is wasting away. His ability to manage and to balance off the earth on which we live is gone. He don't have the confidence in himself, and he don't have the confidence in nobody else that this can be fixed. All he can do is continue to plunder, right? And the greatest transfer of wealth in America has been during the last few years, where they transfer the wealth from the middle class, and the poor, of course, the few dollars that they have, to all the rich. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. It's strikingly. Do you know America used to brag about its great middle class? Don't have a middle class anymore. Or if it's a middle class, you got to work 2 or 3 jobs. There was a time right here in America, the father could go to work, and the family they lived in a middle class home, 3, 4 bedrooms. They drove a car, a Chevy, a Buick, or Oldsmobile, right? And they had all the things, refrigerators, stoves, and everything that America. They went to the movies on the holiday. They did all of that off the husband's salary. Yeah, just one salary. Try it now, see what happens. For the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years, you had 2 jobs. So they said, we're going to fix this. We're going to get some Virginia Slims. He can bring home the bacon. Y'all probably too young for them commercials, Virginia Slims. Y'all don't remember them. Cigarettes, Virginia Slim. The woman wearing old clothes and in the wind blow them off, and there she is, a modern woman bringing home the bacon. Put them girls to work. Housewives, you find how many housewives you got now. That used to be, when you put on, the women used to put housewife on it, because that's what they was at home. Women did not work. 1 or 2 of them worked as secretaries. They made $2, $3 a month or something like that, but they worked. Even in the 60s, all the girls I knew catch the bus. They'd be out there catching the bus to San Francisco to go to work. And they all had jobs because they were young black women and what have you. But hey, you didn't have to work if you were a white woman. Your job was to get married and have kids, right? And be happy. Prestige gone. Power gone. Middle class, gone. Stability, gone. Instability, increasing. Respect for America, gone, going, gone. It does not exist anymore. Okay, of course, I'm going to talk Sunday on the solution. We don't have to be sad to see this go because we were never included in this. They're wasting their time out there running around. You know what they're offering them? The same thing they offered us 50 years ago. Well, we're going to have. We're going to defund the police. That's not all. We're going to investigate this. See what, the Kerner Commission, all that. We're going to have a study to find out why is all this happening. Oh, my goodness. The Kerner Commission told them all that. They've been knowing this since 67. And technically, Thomas Jefferson knew it. They've been knowing it. You see what he wrote, 1776. And they left it out of the Declaration of Independence. Can you imagine? That means they left you out on purpose. Everything else they doing here, they left you out on purpose. And no matter how hard you work, look at the biggest year for lynching, 1919. Why? The soldiers went over there, black soldiers, went over there in World War I, and they had them digging graves, wouldn't even let them fight for. The French, do you know why all the musicians was going to France in the 30s and the 40s? Who was that, Joanne? Somebody, Baker or something. Even James Baldwin, his house was in France because he was born in that era when French people loved black people. You know why? When they was fighting the Germans of France, the French, 1914 and 1918, lost a whole generation of men. They turned to the U.S. and said, what y'all doing with them niggas? We just got them digging graves and running around in circles. Can we have them? This is exactly what happened. Can we have them? Studied 369th, 374 up there in Harlem. Harlem Hellfighters. Well, just read history. They took off American uniforms, put French uniforms on, and the most decorated soldiers in World War I is black soldiers. They spent more time in the trenches, right? They held up longer and harder than anybody. They were most decorated. Croix de Guerre, it's not an American, that's from the French. And then they had a song, how you gonna keep them down on the farm after they've seen Paris? Paris. How you gonna keep them niggas down on Tennessee and Mississippi after they've been over here? And guess what? The white girls loved them over there. You know what they told the white women? Said, them niggas got tails. The white women would field back there. She said, the one I was with last night didn't have no tail. White boys told them, they had operations. Take their tail off. You think I'm lying? Okay. Type up World War I. Type up 369, just like all that others. Type up 371. Harlem Hellfighters. They spent more time in the trenches. They fought harder than anybody in World War I. And when they got back here in 1919, the biggest riots, the biggest killings, the biggest lynchings, right there where you from, Mooresville, right? Hanging, that's the biggest year, because the Negro then came back here. After being they'll hang you if you look at a white woman over here. And the white women is chasing them. And then they learn about, the Frenchy stuff, oral sex and all that. They didn't do that over here. After World War I, shoot, and say, hey, they didn't talk about it, but there's something going on here. And they brought all that back over here. And they start hanging the brothers day in, day out. It was terrible. They never had us included, and they never had us wrote into that rag. And you can walk around, I don't want to talk about Boss Man, but Boss Man then rig this whole thing up to where it's all a big joke, right? He the one started, it's got out of control. Yes, it has. But the people don't have no agenda. You know, we go down there every other day, we talk. Do you know? Y'all haven't seen the news. If you see somebody dancing and turning flips, you see them on TV, don't you? We down there with our speakers thing. You know what the news do? One day, the lady last week had her news thing on and she's standing there talking and you could hear us. She turned her stuff off. One thing about the news, none of them come talk to us because this is what we're talking about. We showing them how you can have a new way, a better way, how to solve the problem. The other young people, most of them are their people, but generally they don't know what to do, what to ask for, right? They just run around shouting. And everything they give them, now I ain't got nothing against and your mama. I don't have nothing. In fact, you see what syrup we got down. Hey, you know, technically, Aunt Jemima's fine with me. Ain't no sense of me lying. Just like I used to like Amos and Andy. Y'all too young for that, but I used to, you know. So you laugh, that's okay. Aunt Jemima. What do I care if you take Aunt Jemima's syrup and cake mix or pancake mix, right? And Uncle Ben's, now you're going too far. Uncle Ben's, look, I'm not pro, we use basmati rice from Pakistan and everything, so they use a lot of it in Iran, Pakistan. So we like, but Uncle Ben's rice, Uncle Ben's is the only rice you're gonna get if you cook it right that ain't gonna stick together, right? Tell the truth. Now they want to get rid of Uncle Ben. I'm tired of this, you know. No, all of this dumb stuff, right? You wouldn't believe what they do. I know y'all been here. The white lady, Miss Pelosi, got a kente cloth on and they taking a knee. I said, look, man. And all the Negroes is there with them. Yeah, Miss Pelosi, you know. I said, this is cold-blooded. Look at what they doing, man. They just playing. They know them people going to walk around a couple of more weeks and they're going to get tired. They would have stopped last week except they killed a brother down in Atlanta, right? The demonstrations down here was almost finished. Then they picked back up again. They never had me and you factored in to nothing. So, believe it or not, and I'm going to close with this, me and you going to have to help Boss Man and get on track because he can't do it himself. His time is played out. We have scriptural behind us because Nineveh heard the truth, right? Out of all the people who went to everybody, Nineveh is the only one. The city of 100,000 or more, remember? Yeah. Now the chief years ago said America was Nineveh. I didn't believe it then. I said, no, we ain't, I don't like that. But if America is going to be America the good, it's because me and you going to do it. Boss Man, he's not capable, right? So if we want this to be a better world, we're going to have to do it. And I'll just run off a few things right quick and call it a day. Nonviolent resistance. It's alternative resistance, right? If you call the police, a woman called the police on her husband, she bound to get him shot, right? So don't call the police anymore. You know who you call? Call the church. Call the masjid. Do like we used to. You know, it was a time we didn't call the police. Do you know it was a time when you were happy when you got in the black neighborhood? You were safe. I'm telling you. When I was on the West Coast, If I'm traveling somewhere years ago, over 50 years ago, up to say Portland, Oregon, when I saw somebody black, the first question I would ask, I'd never been there before. Where's everybody at? I mean, where's the black community? I said, go down here and it's right over there. When you get there, the smells, the sounds, you at home. You at home. That's the way we should feel. And right here in D.C., we didn't lock our doors. We didn't do any of that stuff because our community was we couldn't interact with, nobody would even think of calling the police. Man, nigga stole my such and such. Well, first of all, we had an oppressor. So we wasn't doing too much. We burglarized somebody else's house, but we wasn't burglarizing each other because, one, there wasn't nothing in there, and it was your brother. It was your brother. We didn't start doing that till mid-60s. And late 60s. We started putting bars on our window. Before that, the black community was an area of safety. When you got there, you was home. I mean, you relaxed. You really relaxed, because out there, hey man, you was tense. Now if you want to relax, you go out to the white folks' neighborhood, because you can't relax in your own. Yeah. They used to have a saying, man, when we used to hear something behind us, we look around, saw those white folks, we'd get to change our course, do anything. So now we look around, if we see as white folks, we get comfortable. And if it's somebody black, we put our hands all on our stuff and hold our stuff. It's pitiful. We don't want to get to how they did that to us, but we can not get back to where we was, but we can go forward to an ideal community, but we have to produce it. In order to do that, we have to change our mind, our heart, and our whole function. Nonviolent resistance means the churches, the synagogue, and the masjid should be the institutions, right, that we relate to. And there, we got all these churches in D.C., 10 churches going to take care of the homeless. You know, we decided they're going to take care of homeless. So when you're homeless, you go to them churches. Now, imagine now, though. You want to get laughed at? My friends, they BMW drivers, Benz drivers, all in California, big preachers. Yeah, we're going to try to, here's what we need to do, brothers. Talking to them. Like, we're going to have to live like Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And why don't y'all try living like Jesus? Living like Jesus. Jesus rode a donkey into Jerusalem. Well, you don't have to ride a donkey, but just a little Toyota or something, you know. Transportation, not a status car. And, you know, live modest. They get on the phone. Guess who I got up in here? Big Hank, that nigga talking about living like Jesus. These are preachers. And he talking about we ought to get rid of them BMW. You know, I got BMW and a Benz. And he want me to get rid of that in this big old house. And the people in my church love me. And for homeless people, shoot. We just raised $50,000 for the robes for the senior choir. Can you imagine? $50,000 for clothes they put on the senior choir, not the junior choir, the intermediate choir. That's the kind of money they have. The church have the money. And they got the people. Okay, some people going to take care of the opiate crisis. Well, for us it's heroin. White folks, it's opiates, same thing, right? When you want treatment, the church got a program to help you, right? The church, that's their job. Remember the old days? The church, the mosque, the synagogue was a place of refuge. That's what they did. We forgot about all that. Now, make a joyful noise to the Lord, singing. And the Muslim, of course, salat. That's what they do, and then they're gone. That's it, finish, right? They gone. I mean, you try to catch them to do some good, they gonna break out running. Yes, they are. Huh? Tell the truth. I get to doing that, man. The white man, you know how hard it was for me to get here? I had to tell the boss man I do this, I do that, and now I'm here. You think I'm gonna sacrifice all of that? I'm sending $400 home to my wife's people and $400 home to my people. You know, that's big money. They rolling right over there. Or $100, don't make no difference. Every month, $200 a month, everybody's home free. Right? Think I'm gonna risk all that? Right? Because boss man ain't gonna like it. That's right to say, right? And if the preacher started living like Jesus lived, hey man, it's gonna be panic in the pews. Why? Go to the big churches right around here and tell them you could solve the homeless problem. Just let the homeless people live in the church. Can you imagine the middle class people? Our relatives, the Negroes right over there. Oh, right up there, don't make no difference. Can they visualize homeless people living in their church? But that's what they built churches for a long time ago, right? When you wanted help, you didn't go to government, you went to religious. That's why I look at our sadaqah, zakat, infaq, all of them relate to giving, right? We got many ways to give in Islam. I'm trying to tell you, I'll close with this. If we want to help our community, we start using it the way God meant for us to use it, to help the poor and help the needy, right? Not to gobble up all that money. And if you want to help somebody, you're talking about a good feeling, because you help somebody. And not they tell you thank you or they do. That's why the Quran always tell you, you just do your job, right? You leave it to Allah. You don't stand there, help somebody, and then stand at the door waiting for them to say, well, thank you, you're a good man, I love you, and you gave me $500, I'm going to give you $600 back in a few weeks or something. You don't stand there and wait for it, right? You do your good deed and gone, right? We start living like that, we're going to have a better community. In fact, I believe that's the only way out for us, is get back to good old Dean. It don't seem like they don't have no solutions. And the last thing, this is really America, they wrote you out of the Declaration of Independence. You saw what it said. I read the Declaration of Independence, the part that Tom left out. He left it out on purpose, right? And the 3/5 of a human being. Unbelievable. 13th Amendment. Slavery, servitude, outlawed, except if you go to jail. Just think about all them chain gangs and all the big rich white men that own all these big plantations down there. And he could get, maybe he paid the sheriff maybe 50 cents a day. And the sheriff kept a quarter of that for himself. And the other went to the county coffers. And the niggas didn't get nothing. Think of all the cotton they picked. Just think, you're a big farmer. You don't want to pay the niggas $2 a day, which they was getting. You want to pay 50 cents. Nothing. You get all your cotton picked, all your cotton chopped, right? You get all your stuff done almost for free. And a little bit go to the sheriff and the county, you helping with the taxes. And a little extra that you feed the Negroes, just come out of the county coffers, because you ain't going, they're going to have you eating a little corn pone and should all remember the slop they used to feed down that way. Real professional slop. You know, if you went through one of them towns in the deep south in the jail, just 40 years ago, and you know, up here in the north, they give you big trays. You got something for this fruit there. You got the doggone veggies over here. It's slop. You get a big thing of potatoes. Go down in Dixie and see what they give you. Well, I guess it's changed now. You go down there, you get a bowl of slop. Real slop, professional slop. S-L-O-P. Maybe it's another P, but it's sloppy. I'm trying to tell you, it wasn't meant for us. Why it wasn't meant for us? Because it was meant for us to see the need for change and to execute it. O Allah, we seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief. We seek thy refuge from lack of strength and laziness. We seek thy refuge from cowardice and niggardliness. We seek thy refuge from being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. O Allah, suffice us with what is lawful. Keep from us what is prohibited. With thy grace, make us free from want of what is besides it. Ameen. Iqamati salat. La ilaha illallah. Shoulder to shoulder.